What's up, everybody? Thanks again for stopping by for another edition of March 4th with Mike Bauman. I, of course, am your host, Mike Bauman. Whoever you are, wherever you are listening from, thank you so much for checking out the podcast. If you're a returning listener, I greatly appreciate your continued love and support. And if you're a brand new listener of the show, thank you so much for hopping aboard that pirate ship. You can follow me on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at March 4th Pod. The link tree with all of my stuff is in the podcast description for this episode. So that means if you made it here, then you found me somehow. And I truly appreciate each and every one of you taking the time to check out another edition of the March 4th with Mike Bauman podcast. How is everybody doing? I hope that life finds you well as this show is hitting your eardrums. I believe this is episode 217. So I appreciate everybody who's been on this ride with me. And like I just said, if you're new to the show and this week's guest brought you here, thanks so much for checking it out. I greatly appreciate it. It truly means a lot. And I'm really grateful to bring these shows to all of y'all, man. And over the years of doing this, and I've really been doing it seriously and consistently over the last like 5, 6 years since COVID. But the show has grown more every year, and I've gotten to connect with so many really cool people, both locally in the Nashville area that I'm in, and nationally and around the world. And it's just it's cool, man. That's my whole goal, is to just connect with people in a positive way, and hopefully be a little entertaining as well. Uh, but yeah, man, it's been a fun summer. It's been a productive summer. There's been a lot of fun shows. I was just at a fun one a couple nights ago. Shout out to my friends Jacqueline and Bobby Spencer. Jacqueline goes under her own name, and Bobby is part of Hollow Wake here in Nashville, and they've got some stuff cooking. Teaser. But they had a cool show the other night, and that was fun to go check out. That it was a fun time, and again, just speaks to the talent here in the Nashville music scene. So, rocking and rolling, man. We got 5 months left in the year, but whether you're up, whether you're down right now, just keep your head up, keep moving forward. March 4th, as this show's namesake says. And speaking of moving forward and leaving a positive impact in your community, I'm just going to get right into this week's episode. This guy is somebody that I've been wanting to get on the show for a couple of years now. He's a busy cat. Our paths have crossed briefly at a few of the events that he has been central to, and it was fun to finally get him on this show, especially with the event that is happening this Saturday in Nashville at Eastside Bowl. He is none other than John Nicholson. John is the brains behind Everything You Ever Productions, which is abbreviated I Productions, here in the Music City. And I Productions is really awesome because they put on great events, including 80s Prom Night and The Void. And those shows are really cool because they bring together other local Nashville musicians in the scene, and they put on a great show, awesome covers. Obviously, 80s Prom Night, people can come dressed up like it's the 80s prom, hence the name. And then The Void is like a combination of industrial rock, alternative, new metal. And what's also cool about these events is there's always a charitable or nonprofit tie-in. In addition to being the brains behind Everything You Ever Productions, John is also in the Nine Inch Nails Nashville cover band Not Your Nails. They're sick. As well as my buddy Brand from Sleep Nation, which is how I met John. Shout out to Brand and Sleep Nation. He's also part of Carrot. He's the Nashville Krampus, and he's also part of East Nashville Clowns. And John also produced Deadbeat Disco, the Sleep Nation album that came out in 2024. So this dude has a love for music and the arts. And in this conversation, we talk about his background in performing arts and theater, his love for music, and his love for community and wanting to put on these events in town, man. Like I said, I've gotten to go to a handful of them over the years. And John and I have had a couple of conversations like in passing. Obviously, being the brains of the operation, he knows a lot of people, and I think that's what's cool about this dude, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to get him on the show is just his not only his love for music and the arts and creativity, and we geek out about all that stuff, including our favorite horror movies and 80s movies. I digress. But he's somebody that really cares about community and bringing people together, partnering with charitable organizations. So when they put on these events, it's not just about having a good time, but it's also about giving back, bringing the community together. This Saturday, the event that is happening is another The Void show at Eastside Bowl in Nashville. So, there's going to be artists in the scene playing covers from everybody from Tool to Depeche Mode, Filter, Typo Negative, Slipknot, among others. Not Your Nails is also going to be playing Broken in its entirety, and they're going to be raising money, excuse me, for Music Cares. So that's what's really cool about what John does, man, is his love for bringing people together, his love for music, and also for giving back. So without further ado, I'm gonna shut my big yapper and give you guys my conversation with John Nicholson of Everything You Ever Productions. Here it is. Alrighty, there we go. Well, John, it's great to get you on, man. You're somebody that's in the local Nashville music scene, like we were talking before the jump. That I've been to numerous events with your production company that you've put on and had a good time, and we've got mutual friends that we know in the scene, so it's good to get you on, dude.
No, thanks for having me. I appreciate you reaching out and wanting to talk about the small little stamp I've made in this community out here.
Yeah, dude. Well, where I usually like to start with people, and I did a little homework on you. I mean, not to sound creepy, like what I don't have a guy working downtown, pulling papers and looking up stuff, but I do my research, and
Hmm.
I saw that you spent most of your life in Nashville, right? But it
Hmm.
was initially when you came back, like a cover show that you went to for Tears for Fears, that kind of got your wheels turning about kind of creating a fun community in Nashville for music. But where I really want to start with you, dude, is like just your love for music in general. Like what is your earliest musical memory?
Well, first, I will say that you have done your research because that Tears for Fears show, I think I might have told, I don't know if I've told many people that in person. I've posted about it, but that's funny that you found that out. Yeah, it was a fun, it was one of actually, it was the first night that I moved back to East Nashville, and I didn't know anybody really in the area, and I looked up online, just on Facebook, like just messaging and seeing like what was going on in the area, and that popped up, and yeah, it just kind of it was at the Family Wash, which at its old location before it moved to where Hawkers is now, and I just remember it made like an impression on me back then in those days, and it still sticks with me. So that's that was a fun memory. So thanks for that. But to answer your question, like some of my earliest musical memories, goodness gracious. So yeah, I grew up in and around Nashville pretty much most of my life. I moved away for a while for school and for jobs and various other things. But when I did live in Nashville, there was this store not too far from here in Dixon County called the Sound Shop, and I used to go there, or no, Cat's Music. The sound shop was actually in the mall. So Cat's Music. But I used to go there all the time and like get CDs and get tapes and stuff like that. And I should always remember some of my favorite artists that I have to this day came from that store, walking in there and just perusing through the rock section, or not just rock. I mean, I was looking through all kinds of stuff like pop, metal. I mean, I remember I bought like I bought Shakira's Oral Fixations Volume 2 at that store. I love that record, but I do have a very distinct memory of buying Nine Inch Nails with Teeth at that store back in the day. And so yeah, I guess some of my earliest memories is going to these kind of shops, which are now kind of coming back and more with more punching power than they used to, like maybe 10 years ago. But some of my best memories are going to these stores and buying physical media music and taking it home and popping it into my CD player and listening to it with just the shittiest headphones that you could ever have, and just thinking, man, this is a whole new world for me. These people are making this music and this art, and having that small little piece to take with me all the time was very meaningful to me.
Yeah, isn't it wild how like everything kind of comes back around? And I think that's what's actually cool. I mean, like I'm in my late 30s, so I'm not like old, but I'm not like a spring chicken anymore. But like, I mean, we came up in that era where you had the Walkman, you had the physical CD, and I
Mhm.
love putting up the CD booklet, reading the liner notes, reading like the shout outs, reading the lyrics, listening to the album, and yeah, even like FYE and like topic, you'd go in there and you could put on the
Mhm.
headphones and like listen to the album. But I do think it's cool that like, bands like Deftones,
Mhm.
Korn, which are two of my favorite bands, it's like they're reaching like a whole new audience now. It's like they're on like their fourth or fifth generation of fans now, and those kids they want the vinyl. Like I think it's really cool that like the physical copies have come back and like this instant, very like short form content era that people are like, yo, no, I want like the artwork. I want like that physical experience.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if in your research you've seen, but I have a pretty extensive vinyl collection. I really started collecting as kind of my pandemic project, honestly, with the good folks over down at the Groove. Well, the former Groove back before they moved away. But um, yeah, I'd had, I don't know, maybe before 2020, I might have had 10 to 15 records that I bought over the years that I had. Because it wasn't until, goodness, I don't know, maybe it probably was about, 8 or 9 years ago that vinyl really started to like explode. I feel like, at least to me, that's when I started to notice it really taking off, and artists starting to, as opposed to it being just kind of like a specialty novelty that bands would put out. It seemed like every artist started to just, oh, hey, our music is going to be on vinyl from the get go when we release it. So it was kind of cool to see that physical media kind of take back over. And every year, I feel I read an article that says vinyl sales have like broken records from the previous year, which is really cool to see that people are still supporting that medium. But I love like getting like that physical copy, and like you said, reading the linear notes and seeing kind of who the artists think and little things they hide in there, because that's a lot of things you can't really get with streaming. And while the internet exists and you can find anything you want to, there was something special about having like a direct source from the artist to you in this, you know, sometimes only 2 page and sometimes like a thick booklet inside of a CD or a vinyl case that just had everything they wanted you to know in that moment in time when they released that music. And that's something that I don't think really people get. They don't really get that special kind of connection these days as much. It's still there when you look for it, but back then that's all we kind of had. So it was kind of a special time to get that.
So I got to ask you, are you like John Cusack and High Fidelity, where like he's like, are you redoing your whole vinyl collection? He's like, how are you organizing it? And I'm trying to think of that line. He's like alphabetically, he's like chronologically and autobiographically.
I mean, there I do go through about once or twice a year. I do go through it and reorganize it because I'll end up getting, in a year's time, who knows how many records. I mean, I think at so far in 2026, I've purchased probably, well, outside of replacing things that I've had to replace, I think new stuff. I've probably gotten about 30 new records this year. That's just from artists that have either released things or things that I've wanted and I finally found, or I've gone to like record fairs and bought some stuff. But about twice a year, I have to take everything out and kind of organize it. And I kind of like to organize things by category or like genre almost. Like I'll put all of my soundtracks together and I'll put all my metal together and I'll put all my kind of like weird electronic indie stuff together. So, alphabetizing would work, but for me, because my collection is so eclectic with styles and genres, it's easy for me to find stuff if it's kind of put together in its own little, subcategory that says, hey, here's where I know I'm going to find this particular record.
So can I ask you, first question, are there some of your favorites? Like if you, I guess it's like that old stupid question where it's like if you were stranded on a desert island and it's like, there's not going to be any electricity probably there. But like if you had to take like five records to put in a time capsule, like if you were cryogenically frozen until the year 3026, what would those albums be? What are some of the go-tos where you're like they're always going to be in the rotation?
Oh my goodness, that is a hard question because I have so many records that I could say, but where do I start with? So I mean, do I base it on like original pressings? Do I base it on albums that have the most play? Do I base it on like do I want to like pick five different things? Man, okay. So just to give you some five that I guess I would off the top of my head, I would say the Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me soundtrack. Um, I would probably do With Teeth by Nine Inch Nails. I would say Voices by Phantogram. Lost Themes 2 by John Carpenter. And a fifth one, Ride the Lightning by Metallica. Those would be five that I think kind of cover a lot of different bases for me.
Yeah, that's an eclectic taste. And I'm not
I'm
and I'm not I'm not surprised either. I think that's cool because like for people who aren't aware, and we'll get into it. And
Mhm.
thanks again for your time, dude. But like so
Yeah.
you front Not Your Nails, which is an
Mhm.
awesome Nashville-based Nine Inch Nails cover band. You also
Mhm.
do, is it Carrot, the Corn
Yeah,
cover
I
band?
do. Yeah, yeah. I'm the Jonathan Davis of that band. Yeah.
So can I ask you, dude, you mentioned like you know, getting those albums like when you were younger and picking through
Mhm.
music. Was there a show or is there a show that still sticks out to you like a live experience, like whether it was Nine Inch Nails or Corn or because I feel like the era that we grew up in, man, like there you had like the late 90s. I just remember being a kid and like I'm a broken record, like I talk about it all the time on this podcast, but like coming home from school, watching TRL, but it was like what came to be known as new metal was like peaking and pop
Mhm.
kind of peaking around the same time. Like you had the boy bands and stuff, but those were like ascending. And then you had like the early 90s. Like that was when like I have an older brother who's 6 years older. So all the stuff that came to be known as grunge, like I love all of that. And then you had like the post grunge era. Then you had like Smashing Pumpkins. Like what for you with your eclectic taste, are there any early shows that stick out to you where you're like, in addition to being a fan of music, you're like, I want to do that. I want to be singing. I want to be a front man.
It's weird my kind of journey into music because it was never my intention early on. I always had kind of a love for stage work. What because another fun fact about me. I am a classically trained theater actor. I grew up acting and being in just countless plays and performances throughout the years. I was in an acting troupe in college and did a bunch of different plays and stuff through that time. And so being on stage was never something that was scary to me. It was always, I don't know, a fun escape. They say that most people say that public speaking and they fear that more than they fear death in the world. And that's something that I never really understood that because I was always comfortable on stage in front of people. Like it never bothered me like it bothers a lot of people. Um, and so with music, it's weird because like I started in theater and I worked through theater. When I moved back to Nashville, um, there theater was it's not really easy to get into out here. Like, and the thing, this kind of goes with any kind of community. So I'm not just singling out acting, but it was just very clicky and very kind of like, hey, here's our group that we know. It's very rare for us to bring in outsiders unless somebody in that group already kind of knows you and can kind of bring you in, like almost like Fight Club in a weird way. And so with the music, I'd go to these shows and there was one that, like, the first one that actually got me on stage in Nashville was a show called Tom Hurst Loud Jams. And Tom Hurst, a very fantastic drummer and musician in general, he would organize these free events at the High Watt back in the day when the High Watt was around, RIP. And it was Monday nights, and I want to say it was like once a month, I believe. I don't think he did every week. I think it was only once a month he would do it. And I just started going to them because it was the best way to network with people. And I mean, there's so many people to this day that I still talk to and have met from those shows and people that I've fortunately have had in my shows. So it's kind of come full circle. But it was like it's just a real funny like situation. I was at the bar in the High Watt and I was standing there and I was, there's people playing on stage and I was talking to somebody, and I was just kind of who turned out to be Yvonne Smith, and she was one of the organizers at the time for that show. And I just caught a conversation with her, and I said, "Man, I wonder how you get involved in one of these things because I would kind of like to get on stage and see if it's something that I could do." And she just kind of looked at me funny, and she goes, and I'm sure I've never talked to her about this, but I wonder if in her brain she thinks I was trying to be coy or I was trying to like be sly with her, but because I knew who she was. I had no idea who she was at the time, so I was just talking to the person that would talk to me, and she goes, "Well, what's your email? I can give you the sign up next time we do it." And so I sent her my email, and I did the first one that next month, and I did terrible. It was awful, and I don't know how they and why they invited me back again, but they invited me back, and I just kept doing it, and then that's kind of how my place in music in Nashville anyway started. I was always, in theater. I was in musical theater too, so I mean, singing on stage was never like a new thing, but singing music like rock music or I mean the first song I did was a it was Duran Duran's Save a Prayer off of Rio, which to this day that song haunts me because I listened to it for a week straight, up, sun down, trying to learn that song and make sure that I didn't embarrass myself in front of people that I didn't know.
Dude, shout out to Duran Duran. Shout out to like New Wave, dude.
Yeah.
I think it was Stranger Things that got me into more like synth wavy and like retro wavy type stuff. I went down like a whole rabbit hole. Love me some synth, dude. But yeah, the new wave stuff I kind of grew up with that from like my mom. She was really into like
Mhm.
more like the 80s pop and all of that. But no, that's cool, man, that somebody gave you an opportunity, right? You need somebody to take a chance on you. You know what I mean? It just gives you that extra oomph.
Oh yeah, that's always been like, cause that was kind of my beginnings in music. And so with my shows when I organize them, I always like people are always surprised whenever they send me like an email and they're like, "Hey, can I do this show? Can I be involved? Here's my Instagram and here's some videos you want to see me performing." And sometimes I'll look at them and kind of peruse, but yeah, I give everybody a chance. If they're very passionate and they want to do something, I feel like if you're that passionate about being involved in something, you're going to try your best. And, you know, uh, I just try to give everybody an opportunity to get up there and do something that they are passionate about doing because I was given that with no, background and not knowing somebody and nobody didn't vouch for me. I just had to like put myself out there. And even though I know for a fact my first performance wasn't that good, I mean, I did it. It was fine. Obviously, I didn't train wreck the song, but I know that if I were to go back and God forbid if somebody recorded it, I would have watched it today and be like, "Oof, boy, you've come a long way in 10 years." But um, it was something that I always wanted to ingrain in my performers when I hire them is that, you know, you have a drive, you want to do it. You don't. I'm not sitting here hosting auditions for a charity jam. Like, let's just get up there and have some fun and show up and do your homework and make sure that you are responsible for yourself and what you're doing, and the rest will fall into place. I don't need to sit here and you're not trying to impress anybody. Really. I mean, I'm not trying to impress me. You're just the way you can impress me is show up and do your work, and don't let people down. And then the rest, is usually pretty easy after that.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, given passing like paying it forward and giving people a chance. And we touched on it at the beginning with like the Tears for Fears cover show that you saw where it looked like people they were just having a really good time playing those songs. You have eclectic taste, and from what I read, that really inspired you to start your production company. But I did want to ask you, and I'm sure you've told the story, but just for the listeners of this show too, it's a cool production name, like the acronym that like how did you come up with that? Like, what's the meaning behind that?
So everything you ever productions, when I was making this company, because it was never to me, it never felt right to say like John Nicholson presents or a John Nicholson showcase because my name isn't a selling point. It never should be. It never has been, and never probably will be, and that's fine. But it's more than just like that. It's these shows are a collective. They are a community. They are a lot of people that come together to make them happen. Like, yes, I'm a figurehead, and yes, I kind of like navigate the boat and captain it in many ways, but it takes the old saying, it takes a village, and it really does. Like I couldn't like the first show that I did basically alone. I scoured for sponsors. I got the venue. I think the only person that I really asked for help for at the time was Tyson Leslie, keyboard player in town. I emailed him because I knew him through Tom Hurst and was like, "Hey, do you have a list of people that I can email? Because I don't know really that many people." So he sent me like a very short list of some performers that were locals that kind of got me started. And but the rest of it, I just kind of like had to figure out. I would go to these different shows and kind of like learn what worked and what didn't work. And I was able to like kind of cherry pick the best of the best and try to, mix into my own shows. So, when I was trying to think of a name for what I wanted to call myself, I thought, well, what is going to encapsulate what I want to, kind of put forward, what I want people to kind of, take away from my show. And so everything you ever to me it came from like the very simple answer, it came from a couple of places. It came from a Nine Inch Nails song, and it came from a a musical that I like that came out in the mid 2000s called Dr. Horrible Sing Along Blog. And I don't know if you've seen that, but it's got Neil Patrick Harris, and it's about him like he's like this evil scientist that it's told from his perspective. And he's trying to win a girl, and she's kind of in love with the hero of this town. But there's a song where he basically at the end he gets everything that he ever wanted, but was it what he wanted? And in Nine Inch Nails song, Right Where It Belongs, there's kind of a point in the song where it asks you to kind of look at yourself and think about your life, and is this everything you want to be? And to me, it's kind of a self-reflective answer, like, hey, why are you doing this? Who are you doing it for? And is it meaningful right now to you? And I want everybody to kind of ask those questions when they get involved. Like, yes, like, no one's getting paid. I don't get paid for these shows, So that was something I decided a long time ago. Like, I'm hiring anywhere from 50 to 90 musicians to do a show. They're not getting paid for this, so I'm not going to get paid for it. I wanted to make sure that, we were supporting something that makes a difference. That's why a lot of our shows are for music cares. But I've done YWCA for the women's shelter. I've done Second Harvest Food Bank. The Sedona Wolf Sanctuary. I've done a bunch of different charities, but Music Cares has been the main one that we've supported because I know so many people that it's directly helped throughout the years. And so, I guess a long-winded answer to give you, kind of a sound bite, I guess. The reason why I picked Everything You Ever Productions is because I wanted it to showcase the feeling and the meaning behind why I'm doing these shows in the first place.
Hell yeah, man. And dude, it's cool to expound. Like they don't, it's all good, man. That's why I love doing podcasts. Not to toot my own horn, but I could gab with the best of them. But I like to give people the space to, you know, to get like it's cool to give to go through the history, man. And yeah, I think the first one that I came out to, um, it might have been the Void show 2 years ago. I can't remember if it was that one or if it was a Not Your Nails show. Because one of them, you guys, I'm trying to think of which album you did in its entirety. That I think that was after. I think the Void was the first show that I think
Hmm.
I before Not Your Nails. Because the Not Your Nails show that you did, where I think you did, was it the Downward Spiral? You
Hmm.
guys, its entirety, and I think the Ghost cover band was on
Hmm.
that bill. But so yeah, I
Hmm.
think been the Void 2 years ago. I think it was 2024 because I'd seen
Okay.
Trans Band. I had seen Sleep Nation.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the first time I saw Chris Jackson up there. Um, and that was cool because that was like new metal and alternative and stuff from like the late 90s, early 2000s. Like that was a lot of fun. But what was always the inspiration for like have you always had that in you, man, to like give back, like to want to make it charitable and donate to organizations? Like, is that something that came from like your upbringing or just wanting to have that communal sense of like, hey, this isn't just for us, this is for other people in Nashville who need help too?
It's it's weird because I don't think I've ever really asked myself that question. So when it comes to kind of when I get faced with it, the things that spiral in my brain as to why I do the things that I do. It probably does come from like my upbringing. Like my parents were very, very involved in my life. I was fortunate to know my parents for, and I still know my parents. I mean, still, they're still very much involved in my life, but they always raised me to be, the best I could be and take care of people and try to help people where you can. And I was very fortunate growing up that I never really needed anything. Like, I mean, everybody has their struggles, everybody has their problems, but I was very lucky that I had a very tight support system in my life growing up. And, when I said I was, leaving a very lucrative job to move to Nashville to kind of start over, they were very supportive of that. They never really made me feel like the choices that I made were wrong or that I was doing something that was dumb. They always supported kind of what I wanted to do. And I think that kind of support was always kind of ingrained in myself and my being. And so when I started putting these shows together, it really boiled down to I don't, I mean, we can always get help in some capacity, but I don't necessarily need something right now. Like I'm afloat in my life, but I know there's a lot of people out there that are not. I'm very fortunate that I have a decent day job and I have decent this and I have a place to stay and I have wheels and I can drive places. And so there's a lot of people, especially musicians in this world, that just don't have that kind of support. They don't have a fallback and they don't have like a nest egg or anything like that. And I'm not saying like I'm the richest man. I'm not like a secret millionaire or anything like that. But I'm comfortable enough that I can recognize that I there's some other people's needs that I need to put in front of mine because I'm okay right now. When I need help, I can ask for it, but there's so many people in the world that need help beyond, there are people that aren't comfortable. There are people that aren't being able to like have a conversation on the phone because they can't afford to do that kind of stuff. And so for me, I think with my shows, if I can help one person with these shows with that amount that we donate, if I can help just one person to make a small difference in somebody's life. And I feel like all that hard work that I've done and all the people that have helped me along the way, it was kind of worth it. And so um, I don't think I'll ever meet any of these people, that get these help from this donation. I don't necessarily need to. I'm not looking for, like a pat on the back or anything like that. But it's just knowing that the things that I'm doing are out there helping somebody. I just hope that whoever they are, it gave them a moment's peace in this otherwise turbulent existence that we call Earth. So, but I think that's probably why I kind of do the things that I do, that upbringing that I had.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, shout out to mom and dad for raising you right, man. That's good. It's good to get back, I think it's like life
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
it's a million little moments, right? Just
Hmm.
all
Hmm.
sewn together at the end of the day. And it's like hopefully you leave the places behind when you're done better than, where you found them, the people, places, you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
I think about that too. Like it's like I think we all want to be liked or well received by the people we interact with, but I think there's a difference between like trying to be somebody you're not. And I think everybody relates with like struggling to feel comfortable in their own skin. I think that's like what drew me to like heavier music, like was just that felt like my people, like people who like outcasts or felt and it helped me deal with those darker emotions that when I was younger I didn't know how to express. But I also think there's something to be said for being like, I don't want to be well liked because I want to be known. I want to be well liked because I want to be remembered as a good dude. And I think like that's a good place to come from in life. Like, hey, I want to enrich my community, not because I want people to look at me like, oh, I'm that guy, but because I want to leave something good behind. So
Hmm.
that's like your motivation. It's like, hey, man, like we have fun,
Hmm.
we play these songs, but we want to help people in the community that are less fortunate. That's cool to take something as powerful as music and like translate it into something positive.
Hmm. Oh yeah, and it's always been kind of that way with me. Is like I very rarely even put my name on like the donation checks that I put out there unless I have to. I mean, half the time I let the venue just do it because I don't do it for, the recognition of any of that. Like none of that like appeals to me as far as like needing to be, you know, recognized for doing good work. Because if you need, and this might be a hot take, I don't know, but I feel like if you need recognition for your good deeds, were they that good to begin with? And so for me, I never necessarily need to be recognized for that stuff. Like that's not why I do it. I mean, it's nice to be welcomed and for people to tell you that you did good or did well and that you're helping and that to me means the world. Anytime someone tells me that, it doesn't go on deaf ears, but that's never been my reasoning for doing the things that I do, and that's again, that goes back to why it's I Productions and not John Nicholson Presents, because it's never been about who I am and why I do the things I do. I'm very much on the side of actions speak louder than words, and so I try to live my life in that sense of do things unto others that you want to be done to you, and be. This is kind of a little bit into my nerdy side here, but another influence in my life growing up was Fred Rogers of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood fame. And so I always think about like in his world, everybody was your neighbor. And, you want your neighbors to be treated well. And so something I try to think about is like be the person Mr. Rogers knew that you were. And that to me kind of like it's kind of like a beacon in the darkness. Sometimes I think about that. I'm like, how did Fred Rogers see you and how did he believe in you, believe in people like he believed in people he didn't even know? And so it's like I know it's kind of a silly PBS kind of brain mindset of things, but that's something that kind of has navigated me in many ways with why I do things and how I decide and make the choices that I make on those shows.
Hell yeah, dude. No, shout out to Mr. Rogers, man. That was a staple in the house growing up too. That dude was like he was like a force of nature, and that like he was when I was a kid, like even now thinking about him when you say his name, and it's so hilarious you bring him up because I
Yeah.
just had a chance to visit with my sister and her child, my youngest nephew, a couple weeks ago. And shout out to she goes by Miss Rachel. She's become very popular on YouTube with like kids programming. I think she kind of blew up during the
Mm-hmm.
pandemic. And
Mm-hmm.
her stuff is like super educational and it kind of reminds me of him a little
Mm-hmm.
bit. Like like he could really reach kids. Like when you watch Mr. Rogers, you're like he's talking to me and my brother and my sister right now. Like he's talking to us and then as I got older and I've seen more things about his life, I can't remember like what awards ceremony it was towards the end of his life where they were recognizing him. I think it was towards the end and he gave
Mm-hmm.
like powerful speech and you're
Mm-hmm.
like that is like a genuinely good dude. Like you hear
Mm-hmm.
stories about people where like they have talk shows and like behind closed doors they're like jerks to people. It's like there's no way that dude was like that. Like he just was like his aura and his whole vibe was like I care about kids. I want to have educational programming. And I put it on for my nephew
Mm-hmm.
because I was just like, oh, I kind of want to show him something. Like selfishly, like I kind of want to show him something from my era. I don't want to mess up my sister's vibe here. I know he loves Miss Rachel, but and then it was like an episode about they were like making like showing how crayons were made. And I'm like, yeah, Vic is like my nephew's like a little over a year old. So this he's not gonna understand the concept of how crayons are made versus like doing 1, 2, 3, 4 with Miss Rachel or whatever. So anyway, we turned it off. But no, it's funny you mentioned him, man. Like I don't think that's silly at all because I don't know, man. Like it seems like a lot of stuff now is about like getting people's attention, whether it's adults or kids. It's like it's got to be short, it's got to be fast, it's got to be bright. Boom, we got to grab your attention in 5 minutes so you don't swipe up onto the next thing. And like stuff back then, whether it was that or like Care Bears, I vibed with as a kid. I really loved Care Bears. Was it um was it Gulliver's Travels? Reading Rainbow. I'm trying to think. The intro of it just came up the other day. What was the one where they were in the castle? It was like the
Eureka's Castle.
yes, yes, dude.
Yeah.
All
Ooh, ooh, Eureka's Castle. Yeah, I love that show. I feel like that's like a fever dream for people because it only ran from like I think like 88 to 91. It was a very honestly short-lived television program and it was one of Jim Henson's first like like kind of spin-offs he was really trying to push and get a new thing off the ground and the company and everything. And I loved it. I love watching Yuri's Cat. It was one of my favorite like shows growing up. But yeah, yeah, that's a fun one. That's a deep cut, that one.
Yeah, dude, shout out to Jim Henson's Creature Shop. Labyrinth. We can totally nerd out, dude. I'm way happy to
Oh
nerd
yeah.
out. The 80s, I feel like I would have been, which isn't good. Like you should be in the present. And that's one thing I've worked on with my anxiety is like not to be in the future or the past, but to just be like right here. Um, but I do think if I could time travel, in fact, shout out to Brandon Sleep Nation because they recently posted something on their social media about a hopefully I'm not letting the cat out the bag on anything they're doing, but like a project they're doing where they wanted people's feedback. And one of the questions was like, if you could time travel. And I was like, dude, I would definitely go back to the 80s and I would go back to 1985 and I would go see the Goonies in the theaters when it came out because that's my favorite movie ever. But the Labyrinth, Jim Henson's Creature Shop, David Bowie, like that's the Labyrinth was like a staple when we would rent movies. That was in the rotation. Yeah, dude. I think, and even like some of my favorite, I'm a big horror movie nerd too, and like some of my favorite horror movies, the 80s and 90s with the practical effects, it's so cool. And I'm glad to see some of that coming back. But yeah, so I guess while we're in the 80s, since you're a classically trained theater, whether it's horror or just like 80s movies in general, like are there some go-tos for you, like some all-time faves in that era?
Oh, bless. I mean, some all my favorite films came from the 80s. I mean, if you're just strictly doing the horror, I mean, there's Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn, there's The Thing by John Carpenter, there's Return of the Living Dead, there's Nightmare on Elm Street. I mean, there's so many films that I can attest to my love of who I am from that era. So to pick a favorite, that's kind of a moot point for me because I couldn't sit down and give you a truthful answer for what my favorite film from the 80s is because I have so many that have like formed like in my formative years who I am and like I mean, RoboCop and RoboCop 2 are big ones. I mean, you got to think. I mean, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, which is also an '80s film. With Danny Elfman's, one of his first collaboration with Tim Burton. There's so many things. I mean, like horror, comedy. I mean, the '80s was a very special time in human history where things kind of shifted into a more propelled state of art where things kind of like everything exploded with the just radical colors and themes and ideas and then that propelled into the 90s which propelled us further into the modern times and so like to sit down and say what do I love from the 80s the most. I would just be sitting here listing off what do you want from the every year of the decade. I mean, like I, I couldn't sit down and tell you truthfully what my favorite from the 80s is.
So let me ask a better question. If you could
Hmm.
also time travel back to the 80s and it's the opening weekend of these movies, which ones would you definitely want to be there to see in theaters on opening weekend?
Oh, I mean, goodness, I mean, it's kind of the same problem. But if I had to pick one movie from the 80s to be at the premiere of,
Or let's or let like if because yeah, you're right. One is way too freaking hard. But let's
yeah, yeah.
say of your favorite genres, like if you could pick like horror, comedy. I do remember like a sidebar conversation, Bran and you, and I think I was either adjacent or part of it. We were geeking out on Ernest, which
Mm, mm.
from,
Yeah,
from
Ernest would be a fun one. I mean, it would be really cool to have seen Ernest Saves Christmas in theaters. I think that'd have been a fun one. I think it would have been fun to see. I would have loved to have seen Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn in its original run when it was like an indie film. Um, I would have loved to have seen The Terminator in theaters when it originally came out. Um, yeah, I guess that kind of hits action, horror, comedy a little bit. Yeah, Escape from New York would also been a fun one to see originally. That would have been a fun one. Honestly, any Carpenter film from the 80s. I mean, he dominated that decade of film. So any of his films, I would say I would be happy to have been there on the day a film of his opened up to see it for the first time. Yeah, yeah, it'd be hard. I'd be in the theater if I could time travel. That's all I would do is go back to movie theaters. I would just go back to movie theaters and concerts. Is all I would do.
What are some in recent memory where you've gone to the theaters and you're like, I'm glad I went to the theaters to see this?
Obsession. I've seen it twice. Back Rooms. Weapons. I went and saw, and I'm glad I was there for it. Nosferatu back in 2024. Oh man, I if I wasn't in music now, I would. I think I would have loved to have tried to pursue film and television more. It was just so difficult to really break into, if unless I was going somewhere like Los Angeles, and I wasn't going to do that. And but man, I have such a love for media, like physical and like film and television, just stuff like that. Like I'm always, if I'm not working on a show or planning a rehearsal for a show, I'm more than likely at the movie theater. I was in the movie theater last night, you know. I'll be at the movie theater on Thursday when I see Supergirl. Yeah, so uh the movie theater's always been a kind of a safe space for me. It's like the one true place where you can go and just be quiet and shut up for 2 hours, and the only thing you're worrying about is what's on screen in front of you, and you can kind of for just a brief moment you can be in some other place for a moment in time and forget whatever troubles and stress and problems you have, and all you're thinking about is what the storyteller is giving you. And if it's a good story, that's all the more better. But yeah, like escapism in movies and has always been a big part of my life.
Well, thanks again for your time, dude. And yeah, to bring it home. And again, I really appreciate it, dude. And thanks for being cool and taking some time with me. But to bring it home, and the genesis of getting you on here too is upcoming the Void show that's coming up.
Mhm.
For people who
Mhm.
aren't aware, that's one that iProductions does where the Void is like it's the alternative music, like it's industrial, new metal, hard rock, like kind of involves all of that. At least from the first one I went to, like we talked about earlier, you front the Not Your Nails cover
Mhm.
band and Nine Inch Nails, like thematically, like how fun is it? I know it's a lot of work doing these, but how fun is it to put these together and especially I guess that sort of genre of heavy kind of alternative music um versus like maybe other genres, like why that one? Because the ones that I've gone to have always been fun, but is it just because like that's one that's always spoken to you? Because they really do, the ones I've been to have been a lot of fun, man.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. So the Void, we rebranded. This will be the fourth one, I believe. Yeah, it'll be the fourth one. Which is already crazy that it's that long. But so originally, when I started doing these, my first one was in 2019, and it was called Industrial Night. And I knew I wanted to do a show. I knew I wanted to do something that I could let my new formed band, Not Your Nails, play at. So I thought, let me build a show around industrial style because that's a style that hadn't really been explored in that style in Nashville. Like there hasn't really been. There was a jam for 70s and 80s rock. There was a jam for like kind of new wave and 80s alternative. There was one for grunge, but I never really saw one for industrial music. So I thought, what if I did one? What if I did an industrial night? So Not Your Nails headlined the first one. It was actually crazy because that first one we had played there at Exit In as where it started, like about a week prior. So Not Your Nails played Exit In stage twice in 1 week, which to me that's something I'll always think was kind of cool. So, but it started there, and we did five industrial nights. So 5 years of industrial nights. Well, it wasn't 5 years. We did back 2 year the first time. Anyway, we're getting into semantics, but we did five industrial nights, and then whenever Exit In closed down, and in my world it closed down. Hot take, but whatever. But when Exit In closed down, I moved it to East Side Bowl, and when I moved it, I said I want to kind of use this as an opportunity to refresh it and kind of give it a facelift. So, industrial music is so it's kind of niche with a lot of people. So if I went strictly industrial, it wouldn't get as much like kind of the general audience vibe that I try to go for. So that's when you get like those kind of hard rock and new metal songs that kind of bleed over into it. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to rebrand it. We're going to change the name, and we're going to kind of reshake up how we do it. So it's not going to be strictly industrial. It's still going to be heavily influenced by that. Not Your Nails is still going to headline it, but we'll be able to kind of play around with that music and genre. And I won't get as many questions about like, hey, this isn't an industrial song. Why is this in the set list? Well, one, it's in the set list because a lot of times those artists were either heavily influenced by or have played with industrial bands. And two, it's my show. I can do what I want. So, but with the Void, yeah, we rebranded it and wanted to kind of be more inclusive in the music genre. And I wanted to get away from the Night name. I wanted to kind of have a name that people could say, hey, we're going to the Void this week, and you want to go out. And I thought that was kind of a neat retelling of that show. But it, it's my flagship show. It's the one that kind of started it all. It'll always have a special place in my heart to do the Void show. So getting to do it, not, I guess you're counting the Industrial Nights with it. This would be the ninth one that I've done in this style. It's cool that we still have a crowd and an audience for that, and I'll keep doing it as long as people keep coming out to it. And so I'm honored that we're doing it yet again. And this one's cool because we're Not Your Nails is going to be doing the Broken EP in its entirety, and then we're going to do some secret songs at the end. And so it's going to be a fun time, and we got a lot of good stuff going on. We've got a Flash at two artists that's showing up. I mean, we're really trying to make it an event and not just a jam night.
Hell yeah, dude. And it's August 1st? Is it August 1st? Did I remember that correctly?
August 1st, first Saturday of the month. Actually, it is the anniversary of the very first industrial night because that one was on August 1st. So totally unplanned, but I thought that was kind of a cool little like parallel. Like here we are these many years later, and it's on the same night as the original one.
Hell yeah, man. It's in the cosmos. The universe has I feel like things have a way of working out, dude. Well, John, this has been awesome. I really appreciate you taking an hour of your time with me. I could talk to you for 4 hours just about like 80s, like horror and just 80s in general specifically, but I ain't gonna do that to you. But you're welcome back anytime. I hope that everybody listening who's in the Nashville area, who has the opportunity to come out, comes out. It's always fun. But to give you your flowers, dude, yeah, dude, it's like putting myself out there because it's weird because I have a podcast, but sometimes it can be difficult. But like whether it's you, Bran, Audi, Chris, like Julia, Barry, like all the people who I have met in the local music scene have been so cool. So thank you for taking the time and the work that you guys do, man, to like put on a good show and to take like your passion and your love for music and create a community around it. I can't even imagine all the work. Like we didn't really get into the nuts and bolts of it, but I mean, there's a lot that goes into like planning a show and organizing it and doing all the stuff that you do, partnering with charities. So just know that dudes like me, like who love music, we really appreciate it. And I appreciate all you guys being cool in the local music scene, man. Let the people know the links will be in the podcast description, but let them know where they can find you out there if they're not familiar with I Productions.
My goodness, you can find us on all like most social media platforms. We're on Instagram and Facebook, iProductions, or Everything You Ever Productions. You can also follow my personal if you want to just see the weird stuff I do. Not Trent Reznor. That's my personal handle. And then of course, there's Not Your Nails Band. There's Carrot Music. So you can find us. I've got them all out there. You can find me. I don't hide. So follow what you like, don't what you don't, and come see some fun because we do a lot of different things throughout the year. And we've got industrial, the Void, which is industrial. I've got the Halloween Ball, which is a crazy mix of Halloween songs. We've got the Prom Night, which is 80s New Wave. So there's a little something for everybody with iProduction. So give us a follow. I'm sure there'll be something that you like on there, or I will give you your money back.
All righty, dighty, there you have it. That was my conversation with John Nicholson of Everything You Ever Productions. Make sure you go follow this guy on Instagram at Everything You Ever Productions. You can also follow John at not Trent Reznor on Instagram, and that is not underscore Trent underscore Reznor. The links will be in the podcast description, so you know what to do, or maybe you don't, and I'm about to tell you. Scroll down to the bottom of the podcast description for this episode, hit those links, and go follow John and Everything You Ever Productions. And once again, he is also part of the Nine Inch Nails Nashville based cover band Not Your Nails, as well as the Korn cover band Carrot, the Nashville Krampus, East Nashville Clowns. And all those links are also part of his Not Trent Reznor Instagram link. So, again, everything is in the podcast description. And this Saturday, August 1st at East Side Bowl in Nashville, there is going to be another show, The Void, put on by Everything You Ever Productions. And like I said at the top, you're going to be hearing covers from artists in the music scene in Nashville playing Tool, Depeche Mode, Filter, Typo Negative, Slipknot, The Birthday Massacre, among others. Not Your Nails is also going to be playing Broken in its entirety. So it'll be a good time, man. Like I said, I've gotten to go to a handful of these events over the years. And shout out to Brand Sleep Nation. Brand has introduced me to a lot of awesome artists and people in the local Nashville music scene, including John. And so it was fun to finally get John on the podcast and learn more about his journey with music and performing arts, theater. That Tears for Fears cover show, which was a moment that was really kind of an impetus for him and planted the seed for wanting to put on awesome events in the Nashville music scene himself and build a community. And that's what's so cool about this as a guy who's gotten a chance to come out to these shows, meet people like Brand, discover artists like Sleep Nation, Audi, among others, man. All the tension, like I could go on and on. Like it's a really good time, and even though I'm a heavy metal guy, like at heart, heavy music is like my wheelhouse. Boy, my Midwest accent really came out there. Heavy metal guy. Um, but even though heavy metal is really like my main wheelhouse, and that's the stuff that I love. I also really love 80s music because I grew up with that in the house. Love all the new wave stuff. I love the Police, Sting, all that stuff, Talking Heads. And so, over the years, I've been to a couple of the 80s prom shows now. I've been to a couple of the Void shows. I've seen Not Your Nails. Um, in fact, I think I was there when they played Downward Spiral in its entirety. Like, there's just so much talent in the scene, and it's cool to see somebody not only who loves music but really tries to give back and bring people together. So I just want to say directly to John, thank you so much, dude, for taking the time to come on this podcast. I know you're a busy cat and you've got a lot going on, and I know these events require a lot of your attention, in addition to just your daily life, dude. So I really appreciate it. I felt like I could have talked to you for like 5 hours, but I wasn't going to chew your ear off. So we'll definitely have to get you back on and maybe just geek out about like, film and 80s and horror movies. I mean, even 80s horror, we could just do like a whole episode on that. But really appreciate it, man. So once again, everybody, please go follow John on Instagram at Everything You Ever Productions, as well as not underscore Trent underscore Reznor. And again, the sublinks for Not Your Nails and Carrot, the Nashville Krampus, and East Nashville Clowns are all underneath his Not Trent Reznor link in the podcast description. I'm also going to have a link for the Void show this Saturday, August 1st at Eastside Bowl in Nashville. And again, they are going to be raising money for Music Cares. So, in addition to seeing a bunch of awesome artists in the scene playing great cover songs in the industrial and metal and alternative rock space, you're going to be part of a good cause for Music Cares. So, really appreciate everybody listening. Again, if this is your first time aboard the pirate ship with March 4th, if John brought you here, thank you so much for checking out the show and making it all the way to the end with your boy. You can follow me again on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at March 4th Pod. You can shoot me a message. I do my best to get back to people in a timely manner. Uh, One thing that you can do to support both Everything You Ever Productions, what John's doing, as well as the podcast, is if you like and subscribe, if you share, if you leave a rating and a review on whatever streaming platform you're watching this on. You can also watch or listening to this on. You can also watch the full conversation on YouTube. That is something that I started doing this year. But in any event, on any platform that you are listening and or watching this podcast, if you leave a rating and a review, comment, all those things, like and subscribe, as the saying goes, that helps let the algorithm know that you dug the show. And from what I've read, it helps the podcast rank higher in the algorithm, which means more people will get exposed to it and get put on to dope people like John doing dope things out there. So if you would be so kind to take the time to do that, I would greatly appreciate it. But other than that, that's going to be a wrap for this week's episode. I hope that everybody tuning in has a wonderful week. Keep your head up, keep the faith, and be kind to one another and be kind to yourselves. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.